Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement.
Smithville Fiber, the Giga City Company, a philanthropic community partner since 1922, and a proud supporter of numerous community organizations. More information at smithville.com.
The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you. Indiana's rich heritage and diversity has been paved by activism. Discover incredible Hoosiers who've changed our state. Learn how a group of African American women revolutionized healthcare in Indianapolis. Journey with a group of teens, changing their community through inclusion and outreach. And meet Willy Palomo, the son of El Salvadorian immigrants, sharing his experiences on the stage. Plus, welcome Bloomington band, the Lean and the Plenty, to the studio. Be inspired to speak your truth and change your own community right now on the weekly special. Welcome to the weekly special. I'm Erica Sagone. Community change often begins with conversation and leads to a movement. In honor of Black History Month, we begin tonight with a story 100 years in the making. At the turn of the century, tuberculosis swept across the state, and a group of African American women gathered to save their community.
As the United States entered the industrial age, cities across America transformed. By 1900, thousands had uprooted their lives, seeking opportunities in the urban centers.
Indianapolis was a lot like other northern cities at the turn of the 20th century. There was a lot of industrialization, urbanization. By the turn of the century, by 1900, there were something like 18,000 African Americans in the city. So it was constant growth. You look at the time period, and one of the things that had to be addressed were skill sets, the ability to do some of these jobs, even rudimentary jobs, somewhat different than, say, jobs in an agrarian society. So you're having these people who, a lot of them having been farmers, are coming in a rural environment, or now in this more urban environment. So they're having to, find jobs that are going to supply them the money and the resources that they need to exist. But it didn't take long for the city or for African Americans within the city to realize there was a greater need. There was a need of just kind of localization in terms of the community itself. And with that, you had the formation of quite a few women's clubs.
The Women's Improvement Club of Indianapolis was one such alliance, comprised of 20 African American women representing a diverse range from the community.
These women who formed the Women's Improvement Clubs were responding to the necessity of coming together in group to address these problems that they couldn't address in an individual way. The Women's Improvement Club was established in 1903 by William Thomas Fox, Beulah Wright Porter, Ada Harris. Initially, they were founded to be a literary society, but it did not take them very long to recognize that there was a lot of help needed within the Black community to address various issues, health being one of the greatest. They were very much seen as role models, and most of these women, if they did not have formal education, they were self-educated. And this had a great impact on the community because they looked around and they saw the needs of the community, and they went about the business of trying to meet those needs. There weren't a lot of public accommodations for African Americans. They had to be careful not to get sick in too large of numbers because there were just a set amount of beds that were dedicated to them at the city hospital. By 1905, they're operating an open-air tuberculosis camp in the Brightwood area, located here on the east side of Indianapolis, because this was something that was very much needed, just in terms of trying to quell the great rampage of tuberculosis. They were reacting to the fact that there was very limited and certainly not enough, insufficient health care for Blacks in Indianapolis.
Over the years, the club successfully pressured local hospitals to treat more Black patients, including an additional dedicated ward at the Flower Mission Hospital. The women even opened their own clinic and started the city's first nursing program for African American women.
Beulah Wright Porter was a school teacher and went back to school, got her medical license degree, became a doctor, and then went back to teaching. But a lot of her skills were used as it related to some of their tuberculosis work. I marvel at their ability to come together to try to meet those needs, because these were women who very quickly assessed that they did not have the luxury of being individuals. But most interesting to me is that they were able to unify as it related to the women's clubs themselves. Because in addition to the formation of Women's Improvement Club in 1903, in 1905, William Thomas Fox gave the call for the establishment of the Indiana State Federation of Colored Women's Clubs. And if you look through their minutes, their early minute books, it's replete with examples of them giving money that is to be turned over to aid the National Federation. So they knew that this was a problem that was not going away. There were issues there that needed to be dealt with. And, you know, these were not women who were financially sound necessarily, but these were women who knew how to organize and to reach out and try to secure funds for whatever it was they were doing. They weren't above using their own resources, as meager as they might have been, to contribute as well. The impact has been tremendous. The greatest thing that I would attribute to them again is education, because I think these women were women who were not just organized, but they were passionate about what they were doing and how important collaboration is. Those are probably the three greatest things they gave us, was education, passion, and collaboration.
The Indiana Historical Society has many incredible exhibits exploring the African American experience in Indiana. Learn more about these and other ongoing exhibits at indianahistory.org. Well, as we've seen, strength in numbers can evoke change. And for a group of Bloomington teens, inclusion often means understanding.
I heard about Prism at the 2013 Pride Film Fest. Our program director now came out on stage and talked about how Prism was a group that was starting in the community for LGBTQ youth and allies. And at that time, I didn't know if I could go because I wasn't out to my parents at that time. I wanted a place where I could be around people that maybe understood what I was going through and maybe could give me help, but mainly just for the community aspect. And then I started going to Prism about 6 months later.
I don't really have a lot of other people who are like me in my everyday life, so I come here to be with people who are like me, because there's a really strong community here.
Our main goal is to provide a space for LGBTQ youth and allies in the community. So we're really focused on our meetings that we have twice a week.
On Tuesday nights, we come and we talk about different important matters to the entire LGBT community, such as issues with suicide and depression, how to properly represent yourself if you need to, or figuring out your identity. And then on Thursdays, it's just a very safe place to go and just hang out and relax.
Everything that we do as Prism is youth-led and youth-designed. We have a really active youth leadership team with about 25 members. We have a volunteering and outreach committee dedicated to identifying volunteer opportunities in our community, as well as getting involved with Bloomington Pride and their Pride Fest. We are involved with helping set that up.
I think it's been really helpful for me to have an organization that I feel safe in, that's bringing me other places to develop skills and give back to the community. I think that that's really helpful because it takes me from a place of comfort and familiarity into a place where I might not go, but to do something really important.
And we also give back through educating people. We create trainings that we then go to conferences around Indiana and, if we're lucky, nationwide, to youth-serving professionals mostly.
So that could be anyone from a school teacher or a school counselor to an administrator to people who work with juvenile justice, anyone like that who might work with someone who's under 18. We just came because we thought it would be really relevant for people to learn about LGBTQ youth.
So our trainings consist of defining some general terms for people about the LGBTQ community that they might not have heard of. And then we talk about concrete ways we feel that youth-serving providers can make their offices or classrooms or whatever space that they have a safer one for LGBTQ youth.
And our goal with that is to really just get people knowing about the terms themselves and why it's important to be culturally competent, so that when they work with the youth, they really have all the knowledge they need to respect them and give them the resources they need.
We feel that even if someone's personal beliefs don't align with ours, that the things that we talk about in our trainings and the suggestions that we provide ultimately will help make youth more safe and more happy. And we feel that regardless of your personal beliefs, as youth-serving professionals, that is something that everyone wants.
We really think it's important for the youth in our group to lead the presentation, because when we're at conferences like this, there's no other presentation led by youth, so there's no way for the people listening to know whether they really speak for what the youth want. But when you see teens and youth up there who are actually talking and telling you about their experiences, you can be 100% sure that you can help the youth how they need it.
I feel like confidence is something that a lot of people gain just from being around people that will respect them and validate the experiences that they've had. Makes people feel more comfortable in all aspects of their life.
It's made me feel more secure in my identity because I always feel very validated and I feel like I can be myself around these people. It's important to someone who's growing up and struggling to find their own identity to know that there are other people like them that they can go to and be able to relate and be able to find ways to help themselves.
As an LGBTQ youth, oftentimes there's a lot of isolation that you feel.
We might have parents who might not agree with us or be able to understand, or people who just might not be okay with who we are.
And Prism is combating that by providing this space for everyone to meet up and everyone to see that there are people like me out there. There are people out there that are doing okay.
It's always nice to come here to have all that extra support that someone like me would need,
Who's struggling with their identity.
and you don't have to worry about changing yourself for anyone else. It feels really empowering to just know I'm helping other people out there and knowing that they can help me.
Bloomington's Prism Youth Community holds weekly meetings. All are welcome to attend. To learn more or to see a calendar of upcoming events, visit bloomingtonpride.org/prism. As a first-generation American born to Salvadorian parents, Willy Palomo has faced his share of discrimination and hardship, but he's taken those experiences and brought them to the stage, sparking dialogue with spoken word.
This poem's written in the perspective of my mother, a survivor and refugee of the U.S.-backed civil war in El Salvador. Papi punched holes in the top of the barrels so we could breathe, but none to see. So I can't say I saw the battalion. I can't say I saw the men, or were they boys tear a white flag from his shirt and stomp on his chest as if beating out a fire. There was no fire, just Papi, grunting and swearing there was no one left in our shack. No sons to make soldiers, no daughters to make single mothers. This is how Papi protected us. He made us wear his jeans instead of faldas, so if soldiers found us, we'd be harder to rape. He beat us when we spoke back or said achis. He taught us how to cook tamalitos y sopitas y arroces, so one day we could be good wives. The world is unjust to unmarried women, he said, and thus we learn to suffer. Good daughters, we listened, even when the soldiers revved their cackling engines to run him over again. Even when our men betrayed us again and again, Papi should have died that day. It took one man to stand between him and the soldiers. It took one man to yell stop and defend his good name. In English, witness is a translation of martyr. In Spanish, testificar comes from wagering your flesh on the truth. Power forgets some of us survived to tell the story. The man lived. The soldiers fled. Papi lived, and slowly we massaged his ribs back into place. For weeks, we put warm milk on his tongue. The swelling stopped. He relearned how to walk. Some of his daughters still hide in barriles de frijol. Others are mastering the art of walking away.
To learn more about Willy's latest poetry publications and upcoming performances, visit his website, palomopoemas.com. Wow, that was very powerful. Well, our next musical guests aim to address the modern world's issues through classic country sounds. Meet the lean and the plenty.
I guess you'd say I fell in love with music when I was about 12 or 13. I found myself really intrigued by that world, and eventually I just decided I needed to play something. And a lot of people played guitar, and I wanted to be different for whatever reason, so I picked up the banjo, 5-string banjo. I started writing songs in earnest and realized that I really liked doing that. So I guess it's been kind of an evolution.
I fell in love with music early on. My dad, growing up, he played harmonica, and he taught me some of that. I play harmonica often. I started playing guitar when I was 14. Had an uncle. He would get off his job, and I'd get home from school, and he'd come over and just teach me chords, and he taught me 3 chords, and I started kind of writing songs from that.
2013, I started looking for other people to play with, and I just put on a Craigslist ad in the activity section I'm a banjoist looking for people to play with. And I didn't think anyone would actually respond, but I actually got a whole lot of responses. And one of them was Dakota.
And that's how we came together as songwriters and took to loving each other's songs so much.
And we formed a band, 4 other guys. We came upon the lean and the plenty, just sort of brainstorming. I like the name because, it sort of plays on our different physiques, but it also sort of echoes our folk country genre.
Having 2 different songwriters from different kind of backgrounds and a band of players that are also from very different backgrounds, it's hard to put it in any kind of genre.
Well, then we started putting a band together and we started thinking about more what is our sound? And we're still figuring it out, to be honest. You don't set out to have a particular kind of handwriting, right? You just develop a handwriting style, and the band is sort of the same thing. We didn't set out to capture a certain sound, it's just sort of evolving, as we play together more.
It really does a lot to do with the songs and however they get filtered through the band and however they come out sounding.
There's a lot of stuff in the mix, so each show is going to be a little bit of a different sound, which we like because it keeps it interesting. Being in a band is actually kind of hard, probably as with any art. Sometimes you don't get out of it any immediate rewards, so it is important to know why you're doing it. There's nothing more fulfilling in my life than making music and creating art, and I need that to be a part of my life, for my life to have as much meaning as I can give it.
At the end of the day, when I think about what I can do and what I want to do, it's always this, and I just want to do it in as many different ways as I can moving forward with my life. Different projects, different sounds, but still keep it the songwriting, and it's just the most important thing to me. Really, I don't think I could do anything else.
And now, the lean and the plenty.
I want to be a part of you, everything you know, everything you love and hold close. I want to know the parts of you I wanna tear you apart. I wanna hear your call, the way you howl in the night, in the waning moon and vacant starlight. I wanna claw your heart, growling in your ear, sink my fangs in deep, keep you near. 'Cause honey, I'm an animal. Honey, I'm an animal. Well, I was born out of nothing into this wild world. And honey, I'm an animal. And I wanna tear you apart. Cause honey, I'm an animal. And honey, well, I'm an animal. Well, I was born out of nothing, oh, into this wild world. And honey, I'm an animal. Cause honey, I'm an animal. And honey, I'm an animal. Well, I was born out of nothing, oh, into this wild world. And honey, I'm an animal. And I wanna tear you apart.
The Lean and the Plenty is busy promoting their latest album, From Men to Beasts. To learn more or to find the latest listing of upcoming performances, visit theleanandtheplenty.com. Well, that's all the time that we've got for tonight. Get out there, meet your neighbors, speak your truth, and inspire your community. Once again, before we leave, the Lean and the Plenty. Good night.
So what's it gonna take to make you look my way, honey dog? What's it gonna take to make you look my way, honey dog? Know you done thought about it, girl, so you might as well just come on. I got a wild stare, honey, I can't cast it away from you. I got a wild stare, honey, I can't cast it away from you, baby.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
The Al Cobain Recognition Endowment Fund, established by friends and family of Al Cobain to support jazz initiatives on WTIU and WFIU. And WTIU members, thank you.